Hello, this is Scott with Wisconsin River Outings. Thank you for joining us. I'm here to show you one of our 14.5 foot Current Designs Whistler kayaks and how to pack it. This boat is provisioned with enough gear for one person for at least one overnight trip. So it's 2-day, 1 night with tent, sleeping bag, sleeping mat, food, everything you would need to do a 2-day trip on the river. So all of our kayaking gear, boats and paddles are new for 2012. We replaced our entire fleet, and what we're going to do is we're going to work backwards. So I'm going to unpack this boat so that you can see all the gear that I got in here, how I got it in here, and how it all fits in. And we'll go over that next. All right, so let's first talk packing philosophy. I look at kayaking as backpacking on the water. So whatever you can carry on your back should easily be able to fit in this boat. And you've got backpackers who can be out on the trail for a week or more at a time. So, and we can get more gear and heavier gear into a kayak than a backpacker can. That doesn't mean our objective is to see how much we can bring and how heavy we can make the boat, but you just need to change your view of how much gear you can bring. So kayaking is backpacking on the water, and then the next thing is we do want to try and pack light and small, just like a backpacker would, and we also want to try and keep things off the deck. What happens is people overpack and then they figure, well, we'll just shove everything underneath the shock cord, which is not a good way to do it. First of all, it's tough on the boat, having all that weight on the deck. It's tough on the shock cord, but also it begins to raise your center of gravity. In a kayak, you want all of the heavy items, or as many of the heavy items as possible, at the bottom of the boat, and the lighter stuff on top. Remember, the higher up your weight is, the more tippy the boat is going to seem. So you want to be thinking about that as you're packing and getting everything put away, that you want the heavy gear on the bottom. And next we're going to start unpacking this boat. All right, so we're going to start unpacking here. First we'll take off the hatch cover. Okay, to save room, I've gone with a sunscreen and mosquito repellent. Otherwise I'd need 2 versions, one of each, in order to deal with both sunscreen as well as mosquito repellent. So by doing a 2-in-1, I save myself the space, and it isn't the gallon jug. So there's that one. Next is my private kit, and I'm not opening this, but in here would be things like maybe toenail clippers, matches, an MP3 player. Not that I would recommend playing music on the river, but it helps the nights go by. Perhaps a book, you know, you could even put toothbrush, toothpaste, personal items in here, but it's a waterproof kit that will keep everything that's inside of it dry. Hand sanitizer, if I had room, that would be something that could go into the dry kit that I just had. However, you know, this is self-contained. If this got wet, it wouldn't be a big deal because I'd be popping the top off anyway. So it isn't a big deal to let that get wet. A shovel, you can decide what that's for. I build a lot of sand castles. Here's the pot that I'm going to cook in. Now I use a shallow pan because it heats water faster. If I were really maximizing space, I would tuck something in there. Maybe my hand sanitizer could go in there. So that way I'm not having any hollow spaces inside of my kayak. Utensils, I go with plastic utensils that are sturdy, but you know, the poor man's version is just plastic utensils that you can get from any fast food restaurant, that kind of thing. Butane, the fuel that runs my Wii stove so that I can heat water for oatmeal, just add water type meals. First aid kit, some people would find that as an option. I try to always travel with one. I admit I don't always, but travel kits and other first aid kit is important. Food. So I've got two small soft-sided coolers. So this one here is an actual 6-pack cooler, and it's got the chemical pack in the center. You know, the beverages that are in here, assuming there's beverages in here, won't stay ice cold, but you know, they'll be chilled. So there's that. And then same thing within this cooler. You know, it's thin, but then again, you're only doing it overnight. Another option, because you're only on the water for roughly 24 hours, is not to bring anything cold. Just keep, you know, with the water that you're bringing and that kind of thing, you don't even have to have cold beverages and that kind of thing. So the next thing in here is my tent, and I don't know if you noticed, but when I pulled this out, keep in mind that these are rental boats, and that, you know, sometimes they go through some abuse, and among them will be that the bulkhead, which sits in right behind the seat here, that seals the back compartment off, and then at the end where the feet are, seals off, you can see the gray area in there, seals off the bow. Those are flotation. That's what keeps the boat floating if it goes upside down. However, people push on those and they leak a little bit, so don't assume that the inside of these bulkheads are going to stay dry. But I had this sleeping bag propped up a little bit on some other little goodies that I'm going to pull out of here. You know, if there's something you absolutely have to have dry, it either needs to go in a dry bag, or you need to make sure it's up off the bottom of the kayak so water doesn't slosh around on it. This is my tent. It's actually a fairly roomy 2-man tent, but it packs down that small. So back to the backpacking thing of everything needs to be in miniature. You're probably not going to be able to get away with a Coleman tent on this trip. This is a cool little device that turns my sleeping mat, which is way back here, that turns my sleeping mat into a camp chair, so that I can sit on the ground and have a seat back to sit and enjoy the fire. So there's the beginning load that came out of the rear hatch, and out of the front hatch is pretty much my food area. So bottles for water. Another very good option is a water bag, and MSR makes a water bag that's thick lined. It's malleable so that you could, you know, get it into a small hole and it can fill up space and it doesn't take up a lot of room. Trusty insulated mug for hot chocolate, making coffee. If you've seen our canoe packing video, you know about my idea of the poor man's dry bag or box. This would be great for a cell phone, a GPS that can't get wet, maybe a camera that can't get wet. And this is just an old Jif peanut butter jar. Along the same lines, I have tea in one of these, and I mean, I can pack that thing full. I can do an overnight trip if I'm packing really light with oatmeal, granola bars, some hot chocolate or hot cider mix in here, and this could be my entire food container. So you know, no one's going to starve to death in 24 hours out on the river. Can't travel without my pillow. This baby opens up to a decent size. And then here's another dry box, poor man's dry box, to store foods in. And then I'm sure I've got something. These are my clothes. I've got a long sleeve shirt in here in case the sun gets to me and I need to get it off my arms and my neck. I can flip up the collar, so a lightweight cotton shirt. Lightweight pants, so that if I'm same thing, if I'm getting burned on my legs, I can pull the pants out. T-shirt change, a swimsuit, and anything else. A quick dry towel, whatever you need to. It's all in one spot. And this is a semi-dry bag, but I also had it tucked way up inside in the point here of the boat, which is higher than it will be right here. So if any water collects, it's going to collect right here and not way up there. And that's all assuming you put the hatch covers on properly. So I'm going to lay all this stuff out and wow you with the amount of gear that fit into this boat. Alright, so there's all the gear that came out of that boat. So all of that came out of this kayak, and there was room to spare, so we could have gotten more in there. The big things to think about are keeping things soft-sided. Try to stay away from anything hard. You don't want to bring a little 6-pack Igloo cooler because it has no flexibility, and you can't, you know, get it to tuck into corners and those kinds of things. So that is about it. When you have a chance, please visit Wisconsin River Outings at www.86641canoe.com. If you have any questions or to set up a reservation at either our Boscobel or Sauk City location, 866-41-CANOE toll free, 608-375-5300, and hopefully we will see you on the water soon.